week's episode of This Old Modeler. I'm your host, the Mediocre Modeler, and we're working on our WH13 Tesla gun for our Tesla gun giveaway. Had to do a couple little bit of repairs because we changed our design a little bit. Let's go talk about it. Hello fellow builders, and yes, welcome back to the bench. We are on part 2 of our Tesla gun giveaway, and last we left we were working on the body. We had just got the holes drilled for our vacuum tube, and me trying to be ahead of the game, I went on ahead when I designed this thing. I designed the holes for the rods that go around the tube, so I didn't have to drill them. They were already done. Well, they were in the wrong place. Turns out the same holes that are for our screws, those 4 holes are in the right position for the rods. And so all I did was figure out where they were to make the nice 6 holes. I only had to drill 2 holes, 1 on either side. So now I need to fill the holes that I made in the design. The upside to this is it's the UV resin. So all I'm going to do is take some of the UV liquid and fill these holes up that I don't want in this face anymore, stick it in the UV curing station and let it cure. And then all I should have to do from that point is sand them down smooth, and we're good to go. So we're going to get that done real quick, and then once that's cured, sanded, then we can actually put a coat of paint on this. Okay, I thought I'd give you a first-hand view of what I'm doing. So all I'm really doing is trying to fill the holes that I don't want with some of this resin from the 3D printer reservoir. The resin is too thick for a pipette, any of the pipettes that I've got, or anything like that. But I don't have any eyedroppers. That might work. But all I'm doing is just filling these holes up with enough resin to just barely bubble over the surface. Whoop! See, that have to wipe that off. There you go. Wipe that off. Wipe off what we don't want. It is really kind of irrelevant because all I'm gonna do is end up sanding it down anyway. And then we're gonna put it in our curing station. Hold on, I need 2 hands for this. Okay, the lid is on. Already set for a 5-minute cure, and we'll let that run. Well, as you can see, those spots are filled in. Now we just need to hit it with a little bit of sandpaper, and we can get it. Aw, I missed one. Darn it. Okay, let's try this again. Look at it. Okay, that got it. I'm gonna try and sand that real quick. She's a sanded, she's a primed, and she's a painted. Isn't she beautiful? Check it out. Okay, so here's what we got. Got our pieces mounted on here for the tubes. It's a good color. I'm happy with it. Everything. I've got my holes drilled. This is where the outer rings are gonna go. The tubes. I could not be happier with this. So the next step would be to get the decals going. So this side, all I was going to do is go in with these measurements, print myself a little plate. It's going to fit down in like that. Put the numbers on there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Get the knob. Okay. You with me now? Okay. So I like trying to get into the mind of the model builder. And so if I were him, or trying to do this for a movie, my thought would be, okay, I'm trying to build this thing that's set in this time, but the gun is for this particular area. So what would the materials be that they would use back then? So I would use stuff that would have been available to them at the time that this was supposed to be set. Man, I hope you follow me. I hope you're following me. Okay. So, because that's what I would do now when I think about doing a modern, when I try and figure out what pieces they use to scratch build a prop like a proton pack or something like that. Well, what would they have used at the time to get it to look, what was this shape? So for WH13, I figured they probably used vintage radio knobs. Actually, I'm not even gonna lie. I went on eBay and I first looked up black plastic knobs. Then I end up looking up black plastic knobs with pointers, because I'm still thinking kind of stereo stuff. And somewhere along the line, I just stumbled on, and then I started thinking about the vacuum tubes. What did the vacuum tubes come out of? TVs and radios. And just on a whim, I found, I think, the right one on the internet, on eBay. It was black. It had kind of the ribbed around the edge. It had the pointer. Everything was perfect. And I'm like, it's 1 1/4 inches. I'm like, okay, all right. And I'm thinking that should work for my my body, because all I was going to do is take the decals and cut them out, set them down in there. And that's when I actually started doing measurements and realized this is wrong. This is what I've come up with, and I think it's right. The one thing I did get wrong is this is no longer centered, so there's a bigger gap between here and here than there and there.
I'm gonna leave it. I'm happy with how it came out.
Yeah. Because this gap right here. That was unfortunate, but every experience is a learning experience. It gave me the opportunity, like I said. On this one, I made these pieces in Fusion 360, and I had made the comment that had I thought about it when I was remaking this piece, that I would have gone on ahead and put those in. Well, hold on. Yeah. So you have these two pieces here that were, I ended up screwing down, drilling holes and screwing down. And it was a good exercise to be able to do that. But in this one, I've made it a part of the mold. So it was printed in place. The opening is wide, and really, it really wasn't that hard to do, because what I ended up doing was, alright, in Fusion 360, all I did was click this surface here, and push it back, which made a gap between there and there. And then I clicked the top of that surface and I pulled it forward. So now, like I said, this is closer to what it should be. I still need to sand this surface flat. I need to put my test tube holes. I need to redo that part. And then we're back to these. Now the only thing that I'm thinking that I probably should have done is I should have pushed these surfaces in a little bit closer to the body. And if I have to remake it one more time, I will do that. But these decals are still a little bit too big. All I was going to do is just lay these on the printer. Well, I was going to lay this one on the printer and copy it, shrink it down, scan it, shrink it a little bit, print it, and then put it in there, put my knob in, I'm good to go. This one here, what I was going to do was make a plate of plastic that was the same size, lay this over the, cut the gauges out on the plate, lay this over it, mark it so that I knew where these were on the plate, you know, cut it out with the Dremel. Then I could set that part down and that on top of it, and then the battery low, I'm not sure that was actually on the actual Tesla gun. Finding good screen grabs of that thing are really hard, and all you really see is the gauges and blackness. So I'm going to have to do some more research to figure out if that's actually there. So that's where we are. So I guess we're going to sand, and we're going to... Okay. Before we move on, I just want to say that making the mistake and having to start over is frustrating. It is very frustrating, and sometimes you just have to do it, and it's all part of the game. I'm also saying that for my benefit as well as yours, because it sounds like I'm talking to you. I'm actually talking to me, saying, dude, it just happens. You just press on. So we're going to go sand that, and that's what we're going to call pressing on. Okay, so this is the part you didn't get to see the last time. Alright, so first, take our paint. Pool. Alright. So I'm assuming the flat side here. So you've got your pins and there's just this one open flat area. That's what I'm using as the bottom. That's pretty good for eyeballing. were reprinted, reprimed, redrilled, repainted, and I think we're good. My misfortune is actually going to turn out to be a benefit to you guys, because since I can't use this, I'm going to go on ahead and include this in the box with the resin kit that I'm giving away once this model is completed. So you'll get, somebody's going to get a pretty much ready to go piece, and you can do whatever you want with the side pieces, but I mean, that's too good of a piece to just kind of toss. So bonus for you. As a reminder, send your email to gobuildsomethingmm@gmail.com. I'll put the thing up above, and title it Tesla Model Giveaway, and you have to be a subscriber in order to win. So that being said, we're moving on to the next portion, which would be the side. Oh, before we do that, I wanted to talk about the paint that I used. Now, when I typically do something big like a helmet that may or may not be printing over there on the 3D printer, I use bigger cans, rattle cans of paint. But when I do something smaller, I don't want to waste that much paint, so I want to use my airbrush. I'm always on the lookout for a good new airbrush paint, and I stumbled upon this Mission Models paints and for your airbrush. It's a little bit different because normally when you mix the airbrush paints, you mix them 1-to-1. This is, you mix it like 10-to-1. So if you're putting in 30 drops of the paint, you only use 3 drops of the thinner. And I used it on another model, and it just flowed like it was like butter. Didn't have any problems getting it to go through there. It coated well through my airbrush. Now this was a little bit different, being that this is brass. It's got like metallic flake in it to give it that brass look. The mixing was a little different. It says no mixing ratio required. Any reduce in any ratio with Mission Models thinner. So I'm not being endorsed by these guys or anything. I just want to pass on some good information for a product that I really like. So give these guys a shot. Now we're doing the side buttons. I took the decals, put them on the printer, printed it off, and what I did was, in order to get my spacing right, I cut the arches out and then transferred that to a piece of plastic, cut the arches out here. So now all I have to do is cut this out and lay it down inside, wrong one, lay it down inside my gap, so it'll fit there. And as far as getting the gauges, all I'll do is I'll just do it like that, and I have the needle, the gauges underneath it. This will be painted black, and I'll just get a clear piece of plastic, put over it, glue it all down. That side's done. The one thing, this does say battery level, battery low. I don't think you can see that on the prop. I'm gonna have to double check that. Finding good screenshots are really hard, but I'm gonna trim this down and get that ready to go. Side pieces are trimmed down. They fit nicely. They're in the paint booth drying. So the next part of this monster that we're going to tackle is this, okay? Specifically, I think it's a capacitor. It would make sense, is that kind of what it looks like. Don't know what it actually is, but it's about this big. I figure it's about a 1/2 inch big, and it goes like right there. So it's gonna be which tells me that one, I may need to cut this down a little bit because this might be a little bit wide. I know that's a little bit wide. I need to probably cut that back. But I didn't want to. I could just cut this to size, shape it, stick a wire in it and a screw on the end. But we want to do a little bit more than that, which means I want to use metal on that. Now this can be the side that comes out, the part that comes out of the end of it, because that's where the charging cap goes. But I want to use as much real stuff as I can. So that piece is going to be a small piece of brass. Luckily for me, there's a place across town called Metal by the Foot that has a scrap bin or scrap shelves. So I'm going to go down there tomorrow and pick that up. And we don't have the knob. It hasn't come in yet from eBay. So that kind of puts us at a standstill. We're at a place where we can't go any further. I feel like I'm slogging in mud a little bit, but you can only do what you can do. It's time. It's time for you to go build something. Hopefully you'll get a little bit more done than I'm getting done. But it's a process. You just gotta walk the path, and you gotta deal with what's put in front of you. But until next time, when we are ready, I want you to go have fun. I want you to be safe. I want you to go build something. Try and build it right the first time so you don't have to go and redo it. See ya. Pew 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 pew.